Alrighty, so it's time to do part 2 of the review and look at the remaining 6 games that happen in this week's midweek action around MLS. And we start off with New England versus NYCFC, and it was NYCFC able to get a 2-0 victory on the road against the Revs, and it seemed like this team is started to look like the NYCFC team of last year, and that seemed like Ronnie Delia has finally figured out this team in these last couple of games. Because in the first 15 minutes of this game, they were really all over New England, and they had a chance to get the opening goal, but Turner was able to rob Chanel on the header to keep this one at a 0-0 draw. New England did start it to come back into this game, but unfortunately they just had no end product whatsoever as we head to halftime 0-0 in this game. Now, in the second half, it was the same thing. NYCFC got off to a great start, but only this time they were able to be rewarded with their good start that they came out into the second half as they were able to score their first goal, and it was actually Mancien that scores this own goal. And I kind of wish Aber got credit with this goal, because if anybody on this NYCFC team that deserved to score a goal right now and really get himself going, it's got to be Aber, with the way that he's just seemed like he's been snake bitten this season, with the way that he just cannot find any way to put the ball into the back of the net. And 3 minutes later, his snake bit streak kind of continues when Turner was able to deny him after a poor giveaway for the refs. But ultimately, that curse that Aber has of not scoring a goal finally came to an end in the 72nd minute when he scored for Matrita to give NYCFC a 2-0 lead. And let's just hope this goal definitely will get Aber going, with the way that we've seen this before. Whenever you're a striker that seems to be snake bitten and have this curse of not being able to score a goal and have a long goal drought, that it only takes one goal to able to get things going. And that not only this is great news to see that finally Aber opened his account, but hopefully this is when we're going to start seeing the same Aber from last season when he scored like 14 goals for this team. Now, the Revs, again, they started to show some intensity late in the game and started to really pressure NYCFC, but I thought it was too late for New England in this game, as NYCFC looked pretty comfortable in terms of trying to hold on to this 2-0 lead, and that is exactly what they did. As the shots total in this game, it was the Revs with 16 shots compared to 11 that NYCFC had. 3 shots on goal compared to 5 that NYCFC had. 5 shots off target for both of these teams. 8 shots that was blocked compared to 1 that NYCFC had. And possession-wise, 42% possession compared to 58% possession that NYCFC had. And I think out of all the games that the Revs have played ever since they come back after the MLS's back tournament, this is probably the worst one, with the way that they just doesn't look good at all in the final third. And in the defensive end, yeah, they definitely did struggle a little bit against an NYCFC team that, like I said, they seem like they're looking like the team from last season that finished first in the Eastern Conference, and it seemed like Ronnie Delia has finally figured this team after such a struggle that he has with his team for the first couple of months. And that, for NYCFC, they have a good chance to continue to go on this hot streak that they're at 3 games in a row, because in the next 2 games they got FC Cincinnati and DC United, and those are very winnable opponent for a team that seems to be red hot ever since they lost that New York derby against the Red Bulls in the first game back from the MLS's back tournament. But moving on, in terms of the next match, is SKC versus FC Dallas. Now, 9 minutes into this game, Dallas was able to get the opening goal from Franco Jar to Acosta. That is Jar's first MLS goal and his first goal for FC Dallas. And after that, it seemed like Dallas just kind of content to just hold on to this 1-0 lead. And, I knew that coming into this game, Luchi Gonzalez's team was kind of going to be up against an SKC team that is desperate to get all 3 points in this one, and that, I guess, maybe seeing them getting a surprising 1-0 lead, they felt like maybe they could just kind of sit back and hold on for these last 81 minutes and hope to steal all 3 points in this game against SKC. But obviously SKC wasn't going to let that happen as they were really piling the pressure against FC Dallas. Dallas did decide to change their goalkeeper in the 43rd minute, and it's actually Zobak that actually is going to be coming in from Maurer, and I'm not quite sure, was this a substitution where Maurer was actually injured and that Zobak had to be coming into this game, or whether if this was a tactical change for Luchi Gonzalez to bring Zobak into this game. But either way, I thought Zobak had an impressive performance in this game, although he did give away the goal right on the stroke of halftime to Kyrie Shelton from Gerso and Fernandez, but that kind of seemed like it was coming with the way that SKC was just all over FC Dallas, and that they were able to finally get rewarded with a goal right on the stroke of halftime. Now, heading into the second half, SKC continued to pile on that pressure. Russell probably should have given SKC the lead when he unfortunately just headed a 6-yard header wide. And then in the 83rd minute, Zobak would be denying Russell a chance to once again get the lead for SKC before right near the end of the game he would be denying Chowdhury, who I feel like he should have definitely done better in terms of that shot, and that he had a good area and definitely a good chance to kind of slot that one away from Zubak, but instead he decided to just weakly shot that one, and that Zobak easily kind of saved that one to pretty much preserve this 1-1 tie for FC Dallas, which ultimately they were able to get, as they were able to get a point out of this game. And in terms of shots in this game, 22 shots compared to 5 that FC Dallas had, but only 3 shots on goal compared to 5 that Dallas had. 5 shots off target compared to none that Dallas had. 14 shots that was blocked for SKC compared to none that FC Dallas had. And there was just so many shots that was blocked for SKC that during the second half, there were, at times, the SKC broadcast was kind of a little bit annoying. The fact that FC Dallas was blocking all this kind of shot, and they kind of also show their frustration when they saw how some of these players kind of went down like flies when they decided to block those shots. Yeah, no shit, obviously they went down like flies. I mean, that's what kind of defenders does, where they decide to be brave and trying to take a shot that might be very painful, but at least they're doing their job and able to prevent a goal from going in. Now, possession-wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession. It's pretty even at that point, but either way, you know, for SKC, as much as I know, they will be very frustrated the fact that they should have got a win in this game. In terms of the stats, you know, yes, they had a lot of shots, but not a lot of them was on target, and not a lot of them that really kind of trouble FC Dallas, and that even though Zobak did make some good save in the end, didn't really need to do much because that Dallas backline was absolutely solid, and like I said, they were really sticking a body in front and kind of almost act like a meat shield in terms of blocking all that shot that SKC was trying to put a shooting gallery on Dallas. And that, in the end, I think SKC will be frustrated the fact that this was definitely a winnable game and that they only got a point out of this one. But moving on, in terms of the next match, is Nashville and Orlando City. And Nashville, again, able to get some points in this game, as they were able to get a point over Orlando City. And I thought, coming into this game, even though I thought this one looked like it was going to be a game that Orlando City was once again going to steamroll against Nashville, Nashville definitely didn't forget that game, and they definitely want to make sure that it's not going to happen in this one. And then I guess this game, in some way, would also be kind of a trap game for Orlando City, because knowing this weekend they're playing against Atlanta at home, and I think it's pretty easy for Oscar Pereira team to look forward to the next game, knowing the fact that is going to be a big rivalry game, but forgetting that they still have to take care of business against Nashville. And that, I mean, I'm not quite sure that they kind of fell into this trap with the way that they definitely didn't play as well as they usually do, but still they got a point on the road, and usually when you get a point on the road, that's always a good thing in MLS. But in the 16th minute, Benji Michel scored an absolute golazo from Pereira that is definitely going to get the goal of the week kind of nomination, and I should have probably put goal of the week question mark, because what a stunner of a goal that was from Benji Michel. Nashville started to attack, but like it's been the story of this season and kind of the story of Nashville in their expansion year. They just don't have any end product and don't have anybody going forward that is able to put the ball into the back of the net. Dan Pereira almost scored a similar goal that Benji Michel scored in the 16th minute with a 28-yard stunner, but unfortunately it just gone a little bit over the board as Orlando City has the advantage heading into halftime. Now, in the second half, Nashville would get the equalizer, and it would be Randall Leal that was able to score from Hani Mukhtar, and this was probably the first time I actually saw Nashville able to go on the attack and actually able to create a decent chances to potentially put the ball into the back of the net. Because throughout this game, even though at times they looked like they were dangerous on the final attack, it always tends to break down whenever it gets to the final third. But this was one of the few times where they were able to execute to a good final ball and able to look dangerous on the final third, and they were rewarded by getting the equalizer up to that point as they tie the game at 1-1 apiece. Now, for the rest of the game, it kind of started to become a little bit stale, and there wasn't really a lot of chances for both teams. Although in the 83rd minute, Willis did head to rob Urso from close range to preserve this 1-1 tie for Nashville, which eventually they were able to get this 1-1 draw. As the shots in this game, 8 shots compared to 7 that Orlando City has, 4 shots on goal compared to 3 that Orlando City has, 4 shots off target compared to 1 that Orlando City has, and no shots that was blocked compared to 3 that Orlando City has. Orlando City has the better of the possession with 58% possession compared to 42% possession. But either way, I think both teams is going to be happy with this result. Obviously, Nashville, anytime they can get points, either at home, they'll be satisfied with the way that they, of course, play. And for Orlando City, as I said, this seems like it was kind of a trap game against Nashville, knowing the fact that they got that big game at home against Atlanta over the weekend. And even though they didn't play very well in this one, they were still able to get a point out of this one on the road. But moving on, in terms of the next match, so from a game that this one was definitely not one that I think a neutral really enjoyed, to a game that I'm pretty sure the neutral really want to see more of these kind of action. Because just like last week in a game that RSL was involved, this was a crazy game against the other Cascadia team, the Seattle Sounders. Now, that being said, I think coming out of this game, RSL, even though they did come back a couple of times and once again show that resilience of the team that just have that never say die mentality, they'll be kind of frustrated that they didn't get the victory in this. And the only reason why Seattle was able to get a point out of this game, despite the fact that they were definitely not at their best in this one, is because of Stefan Frei. Now, in the first half, there wasn't really much chance for both team early in this game, although RSL had all the possession and they looked like they were controlling the game. Schmetzer did make a lot of changes for Seattle in this game, which hence that maybe explain why Seattle didn't play very well. And knowing the fact that after such a physical game that was against LAFC back on Sunday, and that they have a short kind of rest to come into this game, it was inevitable that Brian Schmetzer had to kind of change the lineup and had to go with his rotation lineup in this game against RSL. And I think he's going to be very happy, the fact that he was able to get a point out of this game, especially against an RSL team on the road in a game that they usually don't do very well against in history past. But eventually, Seattle would get that opening goal when Ladero was able to put away a penalty after Herrera, of course, handballed it in the box. And we head to halftime at 1-0 in this game. But in the second half, RSL looked like they were really looking to get that equalizer. And eventually, they did get it. And in the 50th minute, Justin Glad was able to score from Rusnak from the corner to tie the game up. And 3 minutes later, we almost saw a repeat of that goal when Rusnak once again delivered a good ball to Justin Glad, but this time Stefan Frei made an incredible save to keep this one at a 1-1 game. RSL was looking likely to get the next goal, but again, Stefan Frei comes up big in the 64th minute as he was able to rock Rusnak and actually deflect that one onto the post, and that RSL was very unlucky to potentially get get the second goal and the go-ahead goal in this game. But instead, it would be Seattle, the one that were able to get this go-ahead goal, and it would be Gomez that scores from Rodon and Dillum, and that I thought this goal was kind of completely against the run of plays with the way that how RSL was just dominate this game. But then again, this was kind of an incredible goal from Gomez to give Seattle the lead in that one. But RSL would respond to Seattle's amazing goal with their own wonder goal from Ruiz, as he basically hits an absolute rocket for about 22 yards out. It did kind of took a slight deflection off of one of the Seattle Sounders defender, but nevertheless, that was just an amazing hit that even though Stefan Fry was on his games and really was stood on his heads to preserve a point for this game for the Seattle Sounders, or even steal a victory for the Sounders in this game, he was not going to save that incredible shot that Ruiz basically puts on it. So at that point, it was a 2-2 tie for both of these teams, and that again, RSL, they were hungry to try to get the 3 points because they see that they've been playing very well in this game, and that it seemed like they were going to get that third goal in the 89th minute when Silva was able to put a good shot. But once again, Stefan Fry comes up big to rob him on that shot. And in the end, that was the final action of this game, as both of these teams would end up with a 2-2 draw, and that the shots in this game, 12 shots compared to 5 that Seattle has, 5 shots on goal compared to 2 that the Seattle Sounders had, 4 shots off target compared to 1 that the Sounders had, 3 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that the Sounders had, and possession-wise, 57% possession compared to 43% possession. And if it wasn't for Stefan Fry, that was really at his very best in this game, Seattle probably wouldn't got a point out of this game. And that, for RSL, again, as much as they show resilience to come back from going down twice in this game, they must be very frustrated. The fact that they kind of got Raimondo in this game, or shall we say, got Stefan Fry in this game with the way that Fry was making some incredible save to deny them to get all 3 points at home in this game against the Seattle Sounders. But moving on, in terms of the next match, is another exciting game on hand in this MLS midweek action, and this time it once again comes at Providence Park with the Portland Timbers unfortunately losing 3-2 to the Galaxy. Now, this game, I knew if this was going to end in a 3-2 win for the Galaxy, or the fact that if this game was going to end 3-3, I thought a lot of Timbers fans are going to point out what happened in the 81st minute, and that a lot of Timbers fans are going to be angry about the disallowed goal from Abovisi in the 81st minute, and that if that one would have counted, this game would have been at 3-3. But in the first half, just 2 minutes into this game, Jeff Antonella, who made his first start in 19 months, was able to rob Pavone early in this game, and that the Galaxy was really putting a lot of pressure on Portland early on, and kind of left off where they were last week against the San Jose Earthquakes, where they were just a team that looked like they are hungry to try to get all 3 points. And eventually they would get that leading goal in the 15th minute when Efrain Alvarez scores his I believe, I'm not quite sure if this is his first goal in MLS, because I swear I think he have scored another goal before, but he was able to score from legit to give the Galaxy a 1-0 lead. Portland did start to get back into this game, but Antonella had to make another big save on legit to prevent the Timbers to go down 2-0 in this game, before Kennedy had the best chance for the Timbers in the 41st minute, as he just puts a shot wide off the target from 21 yards out, and we head to halftime with a 1-0 lead in favor of the Galaxy. Now in the second half, it would be a 2-0 lead for the Galaxy, because in the 50th minute, Pavone was able to score from Depew to give the Galaxy a 2-0 lead. But Mora did not tie the game, but get one back for the Timbers in the 67th minute. And that the Timbers, after that equalizer, they looked like they were definitely on top of the game, and that they were looking for the equalizer. But unfortunately, in the 71st minute, Joe Corona puts an absolute banger of a goal to give the Galaxy a 3-1 lead and restored that 2-goal lead that the Galaxy had. Before we get to the controversial moment of this game and get to the moment where pretty much this is the one that Timbers fans are going to be very, very angry coming out of this game. Because in the 81st minute, Jeremy Ebobisse looked like he basically hit that one into the back of the net. But the goal was disallowed for what it looked like it was an offside play. And they actually did go to VAR to see whether or not if this was offside. And when I look at the replay a couple of times, I don't see how this was an offside call on Ebobisse, because it looked like he was level with the final Galaxy defender, and that, yeah, Timbers fans definitely have rights to be angry the fact that this was disallowed, and that I feel like this was clearly clear and obvious in terms of a goal that should be counted and give the Timbers a goal back and pretty much set up a grandstand finish in the last 9 minutes of this game. Now, in the second minute of stoppage time, Valeri was able to score from Chara and Blanco, and this was a milestone goal for Diego Valeri, because with this goal, he become only the third MLS player to have 80 goals and 80 assists and join the 80 club in MLS. But unfortunately, his milestone night kind of was a little bit spoiled because the Timbers weren't able to come back in the last couple of minutes of stoppage time and did what RSL did last week, was able to score 2 stoppage time goal to tie this game up, as the Galaxy was able to walk out with a 3-2 victory. And the shots in this game, 17 shots compared to 15 that the Galaxy had, 3 shots on goal compared to 7 that the Galaxy had, 9 shots off target compared to 8 that the Galaxy had, 5 shots that was blocked compared to none that the Galaxy had, and possession-wise, 58% possession compared to 42% possession that the Galaxy had in this game. And that, yeah, the Galaxy, a couple of games ago, and I think after that El Tráfico game, I basically questioned whether or not if the Galaxy can be a team that can continue the good performance that they had against LAFC, and that wasn't really just a fluke with the way that how they performed. Well, not only the fact that they answer that question, but they answer that question with a resounding yes, with the way that they have looked in the last 3 games, and that, yeah, this looked like a Galaxy team that if they can keep this up with the way that they play and maybe do a little bit better in terms of the defensive end, because I think in these last 2 games you definitely saw that there was a little bit of a flaw with this defense, and that kind of bad and garbage kind of defense that the Galaxy tends to have started to come back a little bit. But either way, it seemed like their attack has finally got going, and that's even without Chicharito in this team that if he does come back with this team, I wonder how the Galaxy is going to look going forward on the attack, and that they could even be more explosive than what they are right now without Chicharito. But for the Portland Timbers, as I said, it's a frustrating resort, and that they can of course point out to the Ebobisse goal as the goal that should have counted and that they should have got a point in this game. But still, that doesn't excuse the fact that they still concede 3 goals in this game, and that this is just not good enough for the Portland Timbers, and that I think this is now the second time in a row that they aren't able to get all 3 points at home. Or actually, this is the 3rd time in a row that they weren't able to get all 3 points in a row, and that consider they have give up 10 goals in the last 3 game of this 3-game homestand. Yeah, this is definitely not good enough for the Timbers, and I think Giovanni Savarese knows it, and that he's got to do something with this Timbers defense that has looked nothing like what we saw from the MLS's back tournament, and looked nothing like the team that were able to win the MLS back tournament. But moving on into the final game of this week. So, I'm not mad about this result. I really am not. And before you probably thinking I was going to do a rant in this game, yeah, no, I'm not going to do a rant in this game. And that the reason why I'm not mad about this result is that I expected this was going to happen, knowing the fact that the Quakes' defense have not been very good in the last couple of games, and that they were facing against an LAFC team that you can clearly see that their attack had enough with the way that they've been playing in the last couple of games, and they decided to use the Quakes as the team that gets all their angers out. Now, that being said, am I frustrated with this resort and just frustrated the fact that the Quakes once again put an embarrassing resort that kind of resemble what this team has been for the past couple of seasons? Absolutely. And do Quakes fans have the right to be incredibly angry and feel embarrassed about this resort? Absolutely. I mean, you just got absolutely roasted by one of your bigger rival, even though technically I don't see LAFC as a bigger rival than the Galaxy is, but still, this is just an absolute embarrassing result for the Quakes, and that I think Almeida, after the game, he basically said that serious changes need to happen in this team. Well, yeah, obviously serious changes needs to happen in this team, and that obviously the first thing it needs to change is that I think he's got to think about abandoning the man marking system, because I think what we've seen in these last couple of games, or not even these last couple of games, but these last couple of years, with the way that he's tried this man marking system, when this man marking system is working well against a team, it gets resort for the Quakes. But when it's not working well for the Quakes, and if there's one team like LAFC is clearly figure out this man marking system, why in the world are we still trying to use it? Like, why in the world, these last couple resort of us just getting destroyed by LAFC, you would think that we would learn from our mistake, and that we just basically made the same mistake again in this one against LAFC. Now, in the 3rd minute of this game, Blackman, of course, missed a sitter, but this was really a sign of what it's going to come, because LAFC was all over the Quakes in this game. Eventually, Rossi was able to score the first goal from Mark Anthony Kaye to give LAFC a 1-0 lead. Jackson Yu probably had the best chance for the Quakes for majority of this game on the free kick, but unfortunately he just puts it wide as we head to halftime with a 1-0 lead in favor of LAFC, where, you know, I thought it could be worse in terms of how we play in this game, but if we can maybe turn it around a little bit, there might be a glimmer of hope that we can, of course, maybe steal a point away from LAFC at Bank of California Stadium. Yeah, that hope turns out to be completely false. And you know that old saying about there's light at the end of the tunnel? Yeah, in the second half, it was not a light in the end of the tunnel. It was a full speed LAFC attacking train just ran completely over this Quakes defense. Because in the 49th minute, BWP would able to score the goal to give LAFC a 2-0 lead after he completely roasted Tanner Beeson on the right flank to able to score that goal. Vega did deny Rodriguez a chance to make it 3-0, but it would be 3-0 in the 65th minute when Cifuentes scores from Rodriguez to give LAFC a 3-0 lead. Rossi then make it 4-0 in favor of LAFC in the 69th minute before Misvatsky scores from Naha to make it 5-0 against LAFC. And if you wonder, Misvatsky, have we heard his name before? Yeah, you of course have heard his name before. He was one of the draft pick that the Quakes picked in the last couple of years ago, and that this is just classic Quakes with the way that they decided to let go of a player that they think it was clearly not good enough, and that they decided to join a good team, and look how good they are, and tends up to kind of haunt their team back when they of course are facing against their former team. Hussein did score from Espinoza and Lopez to give the Quakes a consolation, but either way, there is just no sugarcoating the fact that this was an absolute embarrassing result for the Quakes. And the shots in this game, 19 shots compared to 10 that the Quakes had, 7 shots on goal compared to 2 that the Quakes had, 7 shots off target compared to 6 that the Quakes had, 5 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that the Quakes had, and possession-wise, 49% possession compared to 51% possession that the Quakes had. And the only thing I get left to say about this game for the Quakes is that next game against Colorado, they better win that one. Because if they do not win that one, something's got to change with this team. Whether it's the front office or maybe even as insane as maybe a potential coaching change that is going right now, because this is just an absolute disaster of a season. And for a team that had so much hope in the MLS's back tournament, and for a team that looked like they had made progress from last year collapse, that basically they forced the Quakes to miss the playoffs, that there was so much hope in the MLS's back tournament, and unfortunately, as I've been saying many times before and seen many times before with this Quakes team, that turns out to just be a complete false hope, and that's if they do not win that next game against Colorado. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for the news of the week. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these last 6 games of this review and part 2 of this review. Tomorrow, I, of course, will be dropping the preview for the weekend's game. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button, and yeah, I, of course, will see you guys next time.